You're recording this for posterity, huh?
I am. Okay,
I
so
better not say anything.
we're live now. So we're going to record for the next hour, and then I'll post this up on YouTube straight afterwards. It may take a little bit for it to upload, but it'll be there, and I'll link it in the VIP subforum on our official forums, so you guys can access this over the next week and past that time, so you can look back and have a look if you weren't able to listen to us live. For those who have joined us, thank you. We appreciate you coming out at all times of the day and night across the world to come and listen. And we'll take this. It's gonna be about 45 to 60 minutes. We're gonna break it down with. We'll start now with a bit of an introduction, and talk a little bit with the developers. Give a bit of an intro into what they do, their role, say hello, any information that we want to release to you guys. And then we'll move into pre-gathered questions for about 15 minutes, and then the last 15 to 30 minutes will be a live kind of Q&A, chatting with you guys and going into a little bit more depth with whatever we can talk about. So just to lay out the foundation for you guys. But without further ado, I would like to introduce the two awesome developers with us. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, starting with Jason, we'll tell them a little bit about yourselves and what you guys do behind the scenes.
Yep. Why don't you go ahead first, Jason?
Yeah. That's what Kilson had said. I'll do that. I'll start it off. My name is Jason. I go by Madaki. I do a little bit of community management, but now mostly I've transitioned over full-time into customer service, answering tickets, helping Kilson moderate forums, working on pledge-related materials. We're really, at this point, CS is kind of a jack of all trades, and we'll do whatever is needed. You all know we're still a pretty small team, so it's not like, we're super delineated into hard and fast roles. We're pretty nimble, and everybody really believes in the game and loves the game. And so if anybody needs help with something, we're always there to jump on it and do whatever we can within our powers and our abilities. I also help with the newsletter every month, but Ronik's largely taken that over. So praise Ronik. Glad he came along. And we'll move on to Mike. He's my boss. So I basically do whatever he tells me to do.
With a big smile on your face.
Come on now, that's not true. I don't ask stuff. We work together really well on this. Hey guys, my name is Mike Butler. My GM character you'll see is Artois, not Artois. No, it's not named after the beer, so
My bad.
I'll let you guys figure that out where it came from. Anyways, yeah, my role is the customer support manager. I also fulfill some other roles here as well, working a lot of the HR hiring as far as interviewing. Basically, anything that comes down the pipe for billing collections. Also work with scheduling a lot of our demos that we've got with different entities that we've got as we go through. And so, as Jason said, we are committed to making this the best CS experience that you guys have seen in games, and that's where we're kind of relying on you guys to help us with what that looks like.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. So our CS team, as the guys have said, we are lean and mean. They are worked so hard. They do such a fantastic job behind the scenes. A lot of it you guys do not see. A lot of it you will see if you put in a ticket. These are you will be speaking to either Mike or Jason if you put a ticket.
Did I lose everyone?
What's that, mate?
Now, Kills, you still there, Ben?
I am, yes. Sorry, I forgot to push to talk. So yeah, these guys, basically customer service team, are the awesome duo behind the scenes that you guys, not a lot of you will see what they do. They do a lot. There's a lot of work. Essentially, if you put in a support ticket, you'll be speaking to either Mike or Jason. And yeah, these guys do a fantastic job behind the scenes and kind of unsung heroes, like we have with many of the other departments. So I think right now we may as well move on to the preloaded questions. So these are the questions from the forums that you guys have asked. And I just got to caveat this with we'll try to do our best. There's a lot of things in here about Play Nice policies and stuff that we don't actually have publicly available yet. So we can speak to a few things, and we'll try and do our best to show you where our mindset is and give our personal opinions. But we won't be able to speak to an official capacity for everything just yet, because it is still a little bit early. But it's not to say we don't appreciate your questions. We won't try to answer them, or at least give you just a bit of a background behind what we're thinking, just to help put your mind at ease. So we might start it off. I don't know how you guys want to do this, if we want to do one question each, or whether I just kind of read it out and then let you guys kind of answer it however best you can. What would you guys prefer?
You can go ahead and read the question. I'll probably start to answer things, and I'm probably going to push it over to Jason because I want him to be able to get his thoughts in there as well. Quite a few.
Okay, perfect. So I haven't put names to these, unfortunately, only because I was just... I think it's kind of better if we just read the questions broadly from a general sense. So if it's your question, you know who you are. Thank you. And hopefully this information helps everybody. So we're starting with number one. The question is, knowing that competition for resources is an inherent aspect of an open world game, will there be a competitive spirit of the game in Pantheon, or will competition in general be considered bad behavior that will be regulated by CS? So I think this is like in terms of harvesting nodes, mobs, if you've got a camp set up or something like that, and someone comes in and starts taking it. What are our thoughts on that?
Sure. I know that's been kind of near and dear to a lot of people. This question, in a lot of ways, we like the idea, and lots of us have come through games where there is a healthy competition. And there's something to be said for that. It enhances the game experience. Where it crosses the line and starts disrupting people's play is really where we're going to be concerned with. Now, finding where that line is and how to enforce that is kind of what we're still figuring out, and that we need probably, we'd like to get some input from you guys, just kind of on what has worked in the past, what hasn't worked, what do you prefer to see. And that's something maybe we can start up on the forums just to open that discussion, because it is something that's important to us. But we do believe that competition should be healthy and should be part of the game in areas. But we don't also want people going around griefing people, or guilds taking everything from everybody else without giving anybody else a chance to play, because that's not fair either. So, Jason, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, just kind of mirroring your thoughts. It definitely comes down to intent. If it's just two people out in the world and they're both harvesting ore and they're running up to an ore pile and one gets there slightly ahead of the other one, that person's going to win. They're going to scarcity of resource adds life to the game. It adds it gives you that competition aspect. Now, if people are multi-boxing and locking down nodes and creating algorithms on their computer to decipher when those things are going to pop and how often they're going to pop, that becomes a whole different issue. And of course, we're going to take a hard look at that and not let that progress. We don't want to see the game deteriorate or be impacted because of kind of nefarious behavior. That's not going to fly.
That's right.
But as far as like a broad-based policy of, that comes down to play nice too. I mean, there's other aspects. We'll get into that with other questions, but a lot of this stuff is going to be case by case, and we're going to have the GMs looking intently at, okay, is this just same place at the same time kind of deal, or is this intentional? Is someone following somebody around and waiting for them to get ready to harvest a node and jumping on it? Are you being a jerk? And
yeah, that's it. And that's
what it comes down to.
Everyone's going to pay a subscription fee. Everyone's going to have the same right, the same equality to mobs, to harvesting nodes. I don't know what the guys are planning with harvesting. I know it's similar to Vanguard and Final Fantasy kind of, but I think if there's group harvesting and things like that, we will be able to. If you're first one there, or you see a group of 3 or 6 or something running around in a circuit harvesting, and you rock up and you're the odd one out, look, you could, be a bit of a douche and try to cut in, and you have every right to do that, but that's going to kind of play into the whole community policing side of things, where you get a bit of a name for yourself for, being a bit of a douche and trying to cut in, even though you may need the materials or whatnot. If you don't send them a message and try to ask, hey, look, I really need this, can I join, or can you send me a message or a PM when you've finished so I can take over, or something similar to that, then yeah, I think we can avoid a lot of those problems just with, common courtesy and a bit of respect within the community too. It doesn't always have to end in a GM or a report of abuse or something like that. So it'll come down to the community as well as our kind of play nice policy.
Or just roll a monk and train them until they're all dead. Whatever.
Yeah, don't do that. All right. You guys are going to get lots of reports of that too now. You've just encouraged it. All right, so this next question, moving on, is there any chance of a guide program like EQ had to help with in-game CS stuff? So, Mike, you want to take that away?
Yeah, so it is something that is kind of a sticky issue. There has been some legal concerns, especially volunteer type of programs in the States. It really makes it difficult for a lot of companies. So when you have to differentiate a role for kind of a volunteer program, that they're doing things that are completely different from CS. So if there's a way that they can enhance the game experience, maybe acting in a way to kind of just answer frequently asked questions for people like, hey, how do I do this, or things like that. That's very different from somebody actually actively investigating, for customer support. That being said, yes, it is something that we are actively pursuing. We don't have information that we can release on this at this point, but we have at least one and probably 2 or 3 of us that are championing this internally and are moving it forward. But we want to make sure that legally that we cover not only ourselves, but also the people that will be doing this, so that there's not any discrepancies on what they can and can't do, and that there's not like a compensation that's taking place with that, because that's really where you get into some issues.
Yeah, well said, mate. We do have obviously a lot of support for a guide program. We have got something in the background that we're looking into. But yeah, we just can't really clarify too much more at this stage, unfortunately, until we look into the legalities of it and see how we can work around it to work best for the community and the company.
Yeah, we've definitely had a lot of meetings on it. We're going to have a lot more, so.
Yeah. Try and make it work. Okay, so next question. Is there a plan to enforce a PMP, being a play nice policy, or will you be relying on community policing? So I think we've kind of answered that, but if we want to go a little bit more into depth or speak any more on it, you guys are welcome to. If you want to start off, Jace.
Yeah, I touched on it briefly before, but definitely that's what Pantheon's about. I mean, it's about community and the community being empowered enough to where your reputation matters, and the way you interact with your fellow players matters, and that filters down to a lot of different things. Server transfers, character name changes, all of those sorts of things. It kind of creates a domino effect of how tightly do we regulate, how easily it is for someone to slip their reputation when we're big on your reputation mattering and staying on the right side of the community. I mean, you can play chaotic neutral. I mean, you can be that guy. If that's how you role play, that's fine. There may be consequences to that. As far as instituting like a real hard, fast, play nice policy, again, a lot of that's going to be case by case, and a lot of it's going to be intent and severity. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? How often are you doing it? Is this a pattern with you? Do we get reports on a daily basis from multiple players that, player X does this, this, and this? That's the kind of stuff that's probably going to get you a ban after a warning. Obviously, those policies are not set in stone yet. They haven't even, we have a bunch of stuff, kind of whiteboarded, but none of that has been, put fast in concrete that this is the way it's going to be. Yeah. And a lot of that's going to kind of emerge as the game goes on, especially in the later stages of testing. I mean, that's really where beta is going to flesh out a lot of that sort of stuff when you've got large community and you start to see some of that behavior popping up. We don't have to worry about it in pre-alpha. You guys are all invested in the. No, you're not going to jeopardize your stake in the game to be a jerk for a couple hours. So, we don't have to worry about it with you folks right now. It's been, we've had some dust ups on the pre-alpha sessions, but usually it's just a misunderstanding and there's no intentionality behind it. But really what it comes down to is that intentionality and severity. And so I think we're probably going to edge more towards the community side, to be honest. But like I said, none of that's hard and fast. I know someone had asked what kind of tools we're going to have for play nice policy. Again, that's probably all going to evolve as we see how the community evolves and what sort of behaviors we observe.
That's it. And it's not going to be a reaction either. Like, we're not going to wait for bad things to happen in the game to decline into toxicity and then react. We're going to have things prepared. But we don't want to jump the gun and be like a police state and like, controlling everything to the point where you can't move. So, yeah, we do have a P&P being built in the background. But yeah, it'd be a nice balance of both community and kind of policies where needed to kind of just take over. But do you have any more to add to that, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to come down to intent. It's going to come down to we want to make sure that we don't have any escalations and retaliations going back for things, which can happen. But this isn't our first time around with this for most of us. Jason was very involved with the EQ Guide program. Myself, I was on the EQ team, not in the CS side, but very working with the CS people. In fact, they were just right outside my door, and worked with them on a lot of these types of situations where they needed information. So it is something that we look at. We are concerned with it, but really it's about making the playing experience enjoyable for everybody. Now, whether that means we rely on the community to give us information, or we're gathering it behind the scenes, either way is going to be valid for us when we go through it. But we're not going to be kind of a reactionary jumping onto things. We want to get the information, what's happening. But again, we're going to cut a lot of this stuff off at the beginning because we've seen a lot already and we know how to fix some of that.
Yeah, well said, mate. There's a lot of experience on our team. We may be lean and mean, but there's decades of experience in many departments to help with that kind of stuff. So we'll be using that as a base to build on, a foundation, and just tweak it as we need to for our community and game. But yeah, well said, guys. All right, so moving on to the next one, we've got this is a bigger one and kind of. I think this has been asked a lot, actually. This is actually a good one. We can try to give as much info as we can on, but this is going to be one of those ones where we don't have a definite answer. And I just want to let you know too, I put a little asterisk next to this because I have had to reword it so I can actually fit it in as a question. It was like 3 paragraphs with a bit of a rant and then a tiny question at the end that didn't make any sense on its own, so I've had to reword it to make it sound okay. How does VR plan to deal with bots, hacking, cheating issues? And how active will your CS team be? Are you actually going to suspend players or ban them for breaking the rules, or are you going to allow the rules to be broken and thus embolden these specific players to keep up exactly what they are doing? So, Mike, do you want to start with that?
Yeah. So we don't have a lot of specifics that we can share right now. However, a lot of the stuff that goes on with hacking and cheating issues and stuff can be captured from our side. We can see that stuff, and we will have tools in place that actually will be able to alert us for certain things. As far as suspension and banning, those will be obviously those are things that can happen. It depends on the severity of what people do. I mean, there's obviously some things that become automatic ban stuff. It's like threatening people, in real life type of things, doxing or swatting, things like that. Those are just because that's now a physical danger issue for people. Um, we are not going to allow people to just break the rules willy-nilly and get away with it. When we're made aware of things is where we investigate, and then it's dealt with on a case-by-case basis in an impartial way. We're not going to come in with blinders, saying, "Oh, we don't like this certain guild or this player." We look at everything from a fresh perspective every single time. But yeah, a lot of this is going to be done with some back-end tools that we have that we can check for things that are happening.
Yes, nicely said. Jace, do you have anything to add to that, mate?
Just what Mike said is definitely true, and that this is all still stuff we're discussing. But I know there will be certain issues that we, as a team, have talked. They're going to be pretty close to zero tolerance. Like there's just certain stuff that's not going to fly, and a lot of it still comes down to intentionality. Did someone trip over an accidental bug and reap a reward from it? That's one thing. Did someone do something with intentionality to create an exploit and continue to exploit it? And that's a horse of a whole different color. So I mean, we've all played enough MMOs to know what the behaviors are that are out there, and we're not going to let that ruin this game. That's a given.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, forget that we're gamers too. Like, we hate this stuff as much as you guys. We hate people ruining our experience in other games of cheating. We hate people scamming and hacking, bots, all that kind of stuff. So it'll fall in line with community policing too, because I've said this on the forums too and been crucified for it, thinking I'm going to leave it up to you guys to community police this, but that's not it at all. Like, there's no game company in the world that can 100% stop bots hacking and cheating. It's just too hard. It's too big a job. And once you do create something, the hackers will reverse engineer it and make something to get around it. So it's a continual evolving fight that is ongoing. So we need your help to report these people, to tell us that they're in there, so we can study them, we can follow them, we can see what tools they use, where they come from, what country is trying to do this, lots of things. So together, with your help and reporting these issues and giving us the information and our tools and behind the scenes and close to zero tolerance for this kind of stuff. And as I said, it's got to be fair. So it's base by base. We did case by case. I mean, we don't want to just ban somebody for life for something that may have been a mistake or just coincidental or something like that. So we need to look into it. And again, that's time consuming. So we need to be as fair as we can, as efficient as we can, while keeping you guys and our game as safe as possible. So that's a big job. It's not something we can just put our hand up and say, yeah, we've got this, easy, no worries. It's going to be a fight. We're going to have a battle on our hands, but we're up for that fight. So with your help, we'll do our best.
Yeah. One thing there about the community. I mean, as Jason was saying, we can't see everything, but that's what we rely upon on the community to help us and point us to certain things that they might see that maybe we're not catching, or maybe we're starting to see parts of it, but we're not really sure what they're doing with it. And that's a lot of times where we would get information. And we appreciate that. And that's kind of what we want to do as far as building the community and make the community accountable for themselves as well as the game as a whole.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Sorry, I just had to file a report to Ben Roenick. Apparently he was cheating. We'll have to look into that after this. Alright, so we'll move on to the next one. This is a good one for you guys. I know you're close to your hearts because of how overwhelmed you get with them. How will tickets be prioritised, and what is the standard expectation for response times? So I want to start with Mike, please.
Yeah. So my background I've come from a lot of service desk backgrounds. So for me, a lot of it breaks down to service level agreements. And that's something we will publish when the game's going live. They'll actually have SLAs that say for certain types of tickets this is what you can expect as far as a resolution time. To give you an idea, some of the top priority ones obviously are going to be ones that are just preventing people from playing the game. So if if there's something wrong with your character, there's something where you can't physically log in, things like that, those are obviously going to be a higher priority. The lower responses would be stuff like, I have a problem with a single quest, or maybe there's a billing question or something like that. Those are lower priority. What we're hoping to be able to do is allow for some of these to actually maybe let the person who's requesting it be able to help themselves, either using FAQs, have or even some AI related things where you can put in, based on the keywords that you have, they'll actually point you to a knowledge base article, or and there might be certain things that can be done internally, like obviously password resets that you have, and go through a verification process where you don't have to have an agent actually talk to you to do this, because we have a lot of information. We can actually allow that AI agent to handle that issue, which would get you into game a lot faster than if you're waiting for one of us.
Well said, mate. Would you like to add anything, Jace?
Yeah, I think we'd also ideally, as the technology allows and as our development schedule allows, like to have some self-help kind of things for other in-game issues, like I accidentally deleted something, or things of that nature, where you can maybe go out to a website or our official site, go through a process of verification, and then maybe get an item restored, something of that nature. But yeah, we don't know how big our CS team will get, and a lot of that's going to be dictated by how many of you can get your friends and family playing this game as well, and how big the game grows. But we do try and answer all of our tickets as quickly as possible now. If you've had any experience with CS, we don't let them sit there long. Mike and I are very proactive. And as the team grows and as our roles grow, we're going to expect that of the people we hire, and that it'll be kind of a top-down lead by example. There definitely won't be, we're not just going to let things sit and grow moss. We're definitely going to be proactive and stay on top of it. And we've demonstrated that now, and it's just going to scale. No matter how big the team grows, those are the things that we're going to impress upon the people that we bring in.
Exactly. And again, it's a big job, so it's something we're going to have to work on and tweak as we go. But as to Nick's question, there will be some kind of in-game reporting. I'm not sure if it'll be right-click or target slash or whatever, but there will be something that you can click to report easily inside, just like the bug reporting system, something similar to that I would expect. Okay, so this is hard to predict, but we can have a crack, I suppose. Do you have a rough idea of what your staff to player ratio will look like after launch? So I know this is kind of guessing, but Mike, you might share.
Well, that's really going to depend on a couple of things. It's going to depend on really the maturity of the tools that we're going to have, both in-game and out of game. As I said, as we move towards more kind of a self-help for a lot of these things, as Jason was alluding to, with kind of restoring certain items, a lot of that stuff is, because it's all database driven, we can allow for players to put in requests, and then we can check it after the fact, right, to see if there was any issue that needed to be addressed, that was out of the ordinary or something like that. The biggest issue, obviously, is when you're in game, how many people do you want to have on each realm? And coming from some of these other games, a lot of times you had like a staff of, as we talked before, there was a staff of guys, and then there was generally one GM, and but that really becomes kind of counterproductive in a way, because as you're getting more and more realms and across the things, you can have people kind of covering all of them. And that again comes down to how many tools that we have that will allow us to function across multi-realms, as well as things coming in via chat, or they coming in via email or in-game requests. And so we really don't have a good answer what the staff to player ratio is going to look like, other than We're going to augment where we need to. Perhaps there will be a temporary augmentation for people that we need. And then other times when it's not as needed, we won't have as many people. So it's kind of tough to really nail that down right now until we get closer to launch.
Yeah, there's a bit of guessing going on there. Like, it's obviously our ratios aren't going to be crazy. We're not going to have like one staff member to tens of thousands of people. It would be manageable for us as well, but we'll have to find that balance. Jason, do you have anything you want to add, mate?
Yeah, technology definitely helps. You can, with the right technology and the right tools, one person can feel like five, and conversely, 5 people can feel like 25. It's so a lot of that is going to be dependent on our tools that we create, and I've got really good confidence based on what I've seen so far that you're going to have a great customer service experience. Obviously, there's going to be peak times, and there's going to be other factors that come involved with that, but there's going to be patch days and whatnot. So, but like I said earlier, I expect our level of customer service to maintain, and we'll grow the team to keep it at that level as needed.
Yeah, exactly, man. I think customer service, and look, I have worked on the team and helped, but I'm not speaking for myself. This is directly for you guys. But our customer service level and experience is top notch, and that's not being biased either. Maybe a little bit, but it's I've never experienced this kind of service in other places, especially game companies. So I take my hat off to you guys. You're doing a killer job. All right, so we've got 3 questions left. We're around halfway through our 45 to 60 minute period, so we'll try to answer these last 3 as best as we can, and then we'll open it up to some live questions in the chat and finish it off just talking to you guys about things you want to talk about. Just please don't do your questions now because I have no way of tracking them. So as soon as we get through these next 3, we'll a little bit more informal, and we'll open it up for a chat. So the next question is: are there any rough ideas of how any potential scamming may be handled? Some games are completely hands off and let players fend for themselves, buyer beware type thing. I'm talking about any kind of deliberate scam from one player to another with proof. So I think this is kind of like a typical, a trade scam or something like that. If you give me this, I'll give you this, and then they quickly remove it at the last minute, scam them, log out, and then it's on a low level character or something like that. Especially with trade houses and auction houses and things like that, this can get out of hand. Again, I know we're guessing, it's very early days. We don't even have one of those implemented in our game yet, so it would be all speculating. But what are your thoughts on that? If you want to start off, Chase?
I mean, we're definitely going to be able to log things, and we'll be able to look at chat logs. We'll be able to, the proof will be there. We won't need, a lot of, we'll seem to be alerted to an issue. As to how hands-on we'll be with that, again, it's probably going to come down to severity and intent and frequency. Obviously, what's right's right and what's wrong's wrong. But in the grand scheme of things, it probably really depends on, I don't even know how to phrase it properly. We definitely don't want to see that sort of behavior happen. It goes back to your reputation mattering. So I think it's probably going to be a mix. It's going to be, even if that wrong is righted by our CS team, that person that scammed you still scammed you. It doesn't change how we've dealt with it. That's still who they are and what they did, and that's probably going to impact them further down the line than just a 3-day ban or a 24-hour suspension. There's probably going to be some stigma to that kind of behavior, and I think that stigma, more than our 72-hour suspension, is going to hold more weight. I think it's going to be more punitive, especially in an open world game where you're trying to get into a guild and you're trying to accomplish things. You're not going to be able to solo a whole lot. I mean, some people like to bang their head on that wall, but to get the best experience, this is a group-based game. You're going to need other people, and in order to have other people, you can't go around ripping them off. Your reputation will follow you, and I think that no matter how hands-on we are, I think the community as a whole is more powerful than CS in that regards.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like real life, like there's scammers and people in real life that rip off, elderly and try to scam them out of their savings with all these fake investments and things like that. There are just douchebag people. So as long as we're aware of it and you guys help us, find those people and let us deal with them, then we'll use our policies and guidelines to hit them with the full extent of our punishments and even the law if it gets into that. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Mike?
Yeah, so it comes down to, again, some of the technology and some of the tools that we would have in there and some of the game features. So, a secure trading windows that people would use, which is a lot of other games have implemented. That cuts down on a lot of that. I think where you see some of this scamming is on games that allow, like multi-questing. Somebody's got a piece that they're trying to give for a quest, so somebody's going to buy it from them and use that. And that can lead to a lot of scamming. And I'm not sure how we're going to handle stuff like that. I'm not sure how we're going to handle with multi-quest if it's if that's going to be implemented. There's a lot of different talk about it, and maybe this is something again where we can kind of throw out to you guys to talk about a little bit on the forum about what do you see? How would you like this to be handled? How has it been handled in the past that was, bad, or how was it handled in the past, which was an awesome way, and it made you feel that the community was behind you if there was somebody being wrong?
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And advice and feedback from you guys is very important to us. We're not going to be able to do our jobs, at the maximum, at the top level, without help from you guys and feedback. So, yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, so we've got 2 more questions left. This one is a touchy subject, very touchy. So, will characters be able to change their name or realms for a fee? And look, I know the community is divided, and I know this is a huge topic because there's a lot of pros for it and a lot of cons. I know if you make the wrong name and you're really tied to a character's name that you have in all of these other games and you spelt it incorrectly or something like that, there's a good case to want to change it and fix it up. And there's also, if you're going to run around and train people and scam people and gold farm and do stuff like that, and then be able to pay a fee, whatever it is, and change your name and then completely wipe any reputation or things attached to that name, is completely unfair. So I can see both sides to this, and I'm kind of torn myself. But what do you guys think? How you think we will handle this? Mike, do you want to start it off?
Yeah. So as Jason has talked before, we said that reputation means something. So being able to change your name to get away from a bad reputation is not something that we want to facilitate. Moving realms, now that's a different thing, right? You might be moving because you want to be with your friends and things. There are real reasons that names can be changed. One good one is if somebody is being harassed in game, they can get a name change potentially, so that harasser, if there's somebody there that we can't, if they've gone through this thing, that might be one of the steps that we change their name, just kind of to protect them and to keep them away from whoever. One of the other thoughts that we've kicked around is, as names get changed, there might be some that are actually, maybe they get posted somewhere so that people can research and find out what somebody used to be called, if it was a reputation issue, not a security issue, but something that because somebody just wanted to change their name. As some of you probably know, you probably try to change your name on our forums, and you find that we don't allow that a lot. I think we're giving people one time to change their name, and a lot of times it's because either they're going by a different name or they misspelled it. But we don't allow people to just keep changing their name because they could be really incendiary on the forums and then want to escape that retribution and people not talking to them. So again, it's back to the reputation, but we also have to worry about security concerns and making sure that people feel safe if it's a name issue.
Yeah, that's right. It's a very fine balance, and again, it has to be case by case for us to be fair, because not every case is the same, and there are some very good reasons for wanting to change names and stuff like that too. So, yeah, well said, mate. Jace, do you have anything to add, mate?
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people are hung up on the cost aspect. Well, if you have server transfers, are they going to cost X amount of dollars? If you have a name change, is it going to cost a certain amount of dollars? Some games use that for revenue generation, and full transparency. There are people out there that use that for revenue generation. You have other games that come along and allow server transfers, and it's a self-service. You select your character, you select the server you want to go to, boom, it happens. Automatic interaction from a GM, no cost associated with that transaction. But a lot of it comes down to what we were talking about with reputation. I remember in the original days of EverQuest, it was $75 to change a server. I think a lot of that was because the technology didn't exist at the time to facilitate it being easy. Characters were hand copied over essentially. Now it's all database driven. We can move you onto a server. We have a tool, and I can't with your character yet, but I can change your server assignment. But that extrapolates out to I could eventually, when that tool is expanded, I could just move your character off onto another server. So do you associate the costs to mitigate bad behavior? Do you associate costs for revenue generation? Those are all big meta discussions that go on with the team. And we're still trying to figure all of that out. But I definitely is data mining going to exist on this game, like where you're going to have an offline armory where people can look at your gear. If they can do that, if you change your name, binarily they'll be able to see, okay, this person was yesterday called X and now they're called Y, and I know that because of their items. It matches that person's the same person. So for a lot of privacy aspects, there's third-party applications essentially or websites that'll kind of shatter that barrier. So this is all. It's a really good question, and like Kilson said, a lot of us personally are torn individually about how do we feel it should best be done. So there's still a lot more meetings to come on that, a lot more consensus that we need to gain, and probably a lot more community feedback. Because when we say community matters, it's not just a talking point. We really believe it, and a lot of it's probably going to be dictated by what you guys think and what you feel, and that will be balanced again against what's best for the game.
Yeah, that's it. Community matters, and as you said, it's not just a tag to look pretty or to get some brownie points. It's we actually mean it. We're a very community driven company and game, and the feedback's very important to us. So I'm constantly bugging the devs and that with your ideas and suggestions and making sure that they get eyes on it, and I know they appreciate it, even if they're too busy to reply and discuss it in the forums. They are definitely looking, and the feedback is very important. All right, so we'll go on to the very last question. We've only got about 15 minutes left, and I need to talk pledges as well for the last 5 minutes very quickly, because there will be a small discussion just to let you guys know about pledges, where we stand and what we need going forward, and then I will make a separate forum post on pledges, because we would love to get your feedback. As we just said, it was a great segue, so that's why I'm bringing it up now, is that we love your feedback. Pledges are some people like them, some people don't care. They're basically a way for us to keep going. The revenue for us has got us to where we are, is basically what I'm trying to say. Without selling those pledges, we wouldn't be here today. So not only do we thank you guys massively for the support, but going forward, we are still going to need to sell them and a few more. So we want to get your feedback. We want to see what you want included in them, what you don't want included in them, even down to price points, just to see how we can kind of do a better job on those and include you guys in that discussion. So just to prepare you, after this, I will be doing, maybe in the next day or two, once I word it correctly, put a forum post up in the VIP forums, and we'll get you guys feedback on strictly pledges and how we deal with that going forward. So now that that's out of the way, this last question, and then we'll have a quick open mic kind of session Q&A for the last kind of 10-15 minutes before we call it. So, will GMs have standard recognisable outfits, e.g. brightly coloured doublets, jaunty caps, perhaps an epic loot, asking for a friend? And then in brackets, chuckling at the thought of Aradoon with a flaming shawm and a hand drum. And I know exactly who that came from, but I'll leave you guys to figure that out. So, Mike, do you want to start us off? Do we have any kind of specific GM kind of gear, standardized gear, or anything that they'll be like in a uniform or anything like that?
We don't yet. Potentially in the future we will. However, that requires designer resources, and they are busy making a game for everybody to play right now instead of making little items that we can wear. So right now we just kind of wear whatever we find in the items that we like and put it on. I can see there being something that would make us more identifiable besides just our nameplate that we have over our head. So yeah, that potentially could be there, but it's not going to be for a while once we get some more resources that can make those. And I did want to say one thing about the pledge thing. I'll give you guys kind of a little sneak peek. We had way back in the earlier pledges, there was quite a few pledge rewards that haven't been fleshed out. And people are kind of been asking, well, what does this mean? And that is coming very soon. We're going through the last final passes of that, and that will be released most likely in a newsletter and then also posted up. So it should answer the questions of some of the more older pledge rewards that we had, that people were kind of like, well, what does that mean? What does it mean when it said name an item in game or name an NPC? What do those mean? So we'll be putting that out there, which should be pretty exciting for you guys.
Yes, thank you. I forgot about that. The community is going to love that. Mike and the team have put a lot of work into descriptions and explanations of pledge items. So no more questioning, no more wondering what you're getting. There's going to be something really nice released whenever we get that out in the not too distant future that will explain all that and make it easy to go to a nice guide, a link wherever we put it, so you can go in and see exactly what you've got and what's in store. So yeah, thanks for saying that, mate. I forgot about that. That's good news. Jace, did you have anything to add quickly about the GM stuff before we move on?
No, let's get into the chat.
All right. So we've got approximately 11 minutes and we're going to have to make a hard stop. So we will try to keep our answers short so we can get through a few. But yeah, guys, if you want to post any questions that are CM related in the Discord chat, we will try to answer as many as we can. And I think, guys, if you see them before I do, just try to grab one and answer it if you know we can. We'll try to get ones that we can answer, but we'll just keep our answers as short as possible so we can get through a few. I hope we have kangaroos, by the way. I haven't seen any in game, so I'm a little bit disappointed, but I hope they're there.
No kangaroos, just wallabies.
The little ones, the little tame ones. I reckon we should have a kangaroo boss just to kick everyone's ass. Kangaroos are not cuddly either, folks. We don't ride them. You don't pat them. They will kick your butt.
How about zombie kangaroos?
There we go. I think Dan did a mock-up of one in one of our Skype channels that was a laser beam in his eyes wielding some kind of gun or something. A zombie kangaroo. It looked amazing. Okay, so here's a good one. Probably for Mike. Will trolls of roleplay be handled the same intent-based management as gameplay trolls? So, you know, if we have an RP server or a dedicated RP server and someone's kind of intentionally breaking RP or just acting like a bit of a douche, you know, will we have the same kind of standards apply to those people as we would a normal server?
Yes. It comes back down to intent. So if you're ruining the play experience of other people and you're doing that on purpose, there are ramifications for it.
Nice.
Adam's question is more of a design question. Will in-game gear be useless in next expansions? I hope not. But that's way off. Yeah, I don't envision us going like an item level server, but that's not a CS question.
Yeah, we'll try and keep it to CS, guys. That's something Brad has talked about horizontal progression as well in depth on the forums. If you want to check it out, he's got a great explanation for that. But just for CS at the moment, because we've only got about 8 minutes left, we may get. I'll see if I can get Brad on the next couple, and we can ask questions like that too.
Nick has a good question.
Go for it.
There have been discussions about. He asked if we've had any internal discussions about different rule sets with different levels of GM enforcement. And we've definitely had different rule set discussions as to whether we'll have different levels of GM enforcement. I assume if we have an open world PvP server, that the GM involvement will be a little bit more lax because you're allowed to kill and loot each other. But I still think some general rules of decency and obviously I don't ever envision a hands-off server where exploits and everything else and bots are allowed. I don't personally envision that ever happening, no matter how lax the rule set server may be.
Yeah.
Unless you put all the people who've been banned and suspended on there, it's kind of like
Prism Planet, yeah, yeah, that would be all right. We could do a Prism Planet,
we call it Australia.
What's it gonna go to?
I like it.
Gelson was in the. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So PvP, we will have PvP. We will definitely have a PvP server. It won't be impacting PvE at all. We've also said we're able to modify classes and abilities without affecting each other. So if we nerf some kind of player ability on PvP, it will not impact PvE characters. We have said that. Hopefully we can still stick to that. I'm not sure. I'm not a developer or designer or programmer in that area, but that is what we have said. So going forward, I don't know when we'll be able to release info on PvP. As soon as we do, or we get close, I will be opening up PvP subforums to kind of, separate you guys a little bit so you can talk freely and not get all upset at each other, because I know it's a very debated topic and people don't want to be associated with the other playstyle. So, yeah, but nothing as yet, unfortunately. I'll let you know when that comes.
Akilo has a question about how hard on bugs are you going to be as a CS thing in game. We did kind of talk about that in the beginning. I saw you come in late. It's going to be basically intentionality. Did you trip over this thing accidentally and benefit from it? Well, congrats, maybe. Is it a known problem that you're exploiting to your advantage? Not a good look. So that's going to be a case by case thing.
Yeah, and the GM thing is a great question. Where is it? Are you planning to be recruiting players to be GMs as volunteers, or will it be only paid employees? Only paid employees will be GMs, no volunteers, for legal reasons and just for company reasons. So only GMs in game will be official VR employees, so you'll know that you'll be able to trust them. Can I see any more in there? Multiple ways to get in touch. Will there be multiple ways to get in touch with GMs after launch, e.g., in-game, Discord, email?
Yeah. We're gonna have multiple channels for support issues. So right now, as what I foresee is there's gonna be in-game. There's email always. There will be a link on the website, and we're also looking at a chat, like a little chat applet that would be on the website or in-game that you can contact us there as well.
Awesome stuff.
Boris and Nick both have good questions, yeah.
Yeah. Plan on taking an aggressive stance against RMT, which is real money transactions or trading?
RMT, yes.
For in-game goods and services. And yes, we do. It would be a serious offence that we would classify at the highest level, and we'd deal with that on a case-by-case basis. It could be IP ban, it could be whatever, player ban. It just completely depends on how big or small it is. But yeah, that would be a high level incident for us to deal with. I don't know how much more we can talk about that, Mike, but that's. Do you have anything to add, mate?
Yeah, we're against that. We've seen it with what it does to other games. There's also some legality in there and whether who owns those bits too. So that's just kind of why one of those things where we don't, we're not going to condone real money transactions.
Here's an interesting one. If someone uses the /report option for someone or something, will they be able to see the results of that ticket, or will it just be a fire and forget as the player is concerned? So say I report Ronick in game for cheating. which I'm already going to catch up with him for that ban. But will I be able to see that ticket progressing or any action taken, or will I be notified of the outcome at all, or will that just be I've reported it and now I leave it up to the CS team?
Normally, what will happen with those types of tickets is it will probably log as a ticket from you because we have to get information about what you're reporting. You can't just give us random stuff on there if it's no context of what's happening. But no, disposition of another player's what happens with them is not ever going to be shared to other people. It's a privacy thing. It's also it's not something that we feel that we need to share with other players. Because each person needs to be treated with respect and their own privacy.
Yeah, good reply. Okay, so we've got a couple of minutes left. How do we differentiate between mercenary services and RMT? If we have mercenaries in the game, I think there's going to be riots in the street. So I don't think we'll be seeing that.
Yeah, that's a good 14 to 16 years down the road. Man. Come on.
Yeah.
That's the 13th expansion, I think, right?
Yes.
Got a bookmarked.
Let me pull up our roadmap. Yeah, here it is. No.
Okay. Do you guys have any last questions? We've got a couple of minutes until we wrap it up. Is there anything else you want to know that we haven't covered? Again, keeping in mind, I'm going to put pledges, a whole pledge thread on the forums in the next couple of days to help get your feedback on that. But do you have any more CS questions just before we wrap it up? Okay, so will you hire GMs from multiple regions or only in the West Coast USA?
Hopefully multiple regions for sure. Localization would be nice. Yeah. That'd be ideal.
We haven't come down to the total how that's going to pan out, but we're going to put them where we need them. Is really what it's going to come down.
Yeah, good stuff. I think that'll.
Or we'll just import all the to San Diego. Yeah.
The other thing to think of is, I mean, there are several. There are several games that support people from around the world, but they're doing it from multiple locations as well. So there's also remote services there too. So it just depends on what types of tools we have available for people that are doing CS, whether they need to be in the same physical space as other people.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, as you said, lots of different countries have lots of different, legalities and loopholes and stuff. You need hoops to jump through. It's quite a pain, but we're going to try to localize as much as we can and make sure that we've got, everything covered as best as we can.
And I mean, at the worst case, we're going to have shift work where we're going to have people on all the time. It's not, we're not going to turn the lights out at 5 p.m. and go home.
No, that's it. And look, we've got.
Wait, we aren't? I thought we would do.
Hey, what?
Well, you are. You're the boss. You get those hours.
I was going to say, that sounds like a lot of work, man. Good luck with that. All right, we might wrap it up, guys. We've had some great questions. If you've got any more, hit us up in the forums, in the VIP sub-forums, in the general, if you want. Actually, probably the VIP would be a bit safer for NDA stuff. But if it's a general question, hit us up in the forums. I'm always reading everything that you guys write, even if I don't reply all the time, and I'm passing it to the appropriate developers and teams to have a look at, so they're aware of it. So, and again, even if they don't reply, there are multiple eyes on it. So if you've got questions about CS that we haven't answered or that you want to get more input on, please put your questions in the forums, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. If we can answer them. If we don't answer them, it's probably because we don't have an answer or we're just not sure yet. But I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you very much to all of you for coming and listening to us ramble on for an hour. I hope it was worth it. You had fun, got some information, been enlightened. Thank you to Jason and Mike for coming along for our first ever rekindled developer roundtables. You guys have been awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
And that's it, guys. We'll wrap it up. I will post this up on YouTube as soon as I can upload it with my Aussie connection after this is finished, and then a week later I'll release it to the general public, and then we can talk about it in the general section. But any questions, go to the forums, and thank you very much. The last Friday of next month will be the next developer, who is yet to be named. So I'll work all that out, and I'll let you guys know a week before and get those questions out. But thank you very much, guys.
Thanks all. Have a great day.